Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kohler Group's Expansion into China webinar series. The topic for today is Brace for Impact, the challenges in importing and exporting in China. I am pleased to have Mr. Harry Zheng, Vice President and Greater China Practice Leader at STR China, join us today in presenting on this topic. Given the variations in practices or interpretations at different ports of entry in China, customs rules can present complex challenges in any jurisdiction. It is likely that companies may meet challenges at the border and post-importation audits and investigations in various sectors. With an eye to the future, China Customs will continue to be tasked with large revenue collection targets, a commitment of time, resources, and strategic planning for companies on customs management will be required. To provide a better understanding of the customs rules and to help you to mitigate operational risks, manage costs, and gain favorable recognition in the highly competitive marketplace, this webinar will introduce some of the intricacies of import and export challenges with a focus on licenses, tariff classifications, customs valuation, and duty exemption management in China. But before we begin today's presentation, I just want to make sure that the sound system is functioning. If people would be so kind as to click the hand button on the control panel, that will allow me to know that the sound system is working. If there are any technical difficulties, either on my side or on Harry's side, please do stay on the line. It will take either a few seconds up to a minute for the internet stability to come back to normal. If you are having any issues with the audio sound, please note that you can switch from using your mic and speakers on your laptop or desktop to a telephone landline by clicking on the audio button or the audio section of your control panel. Now, as is typical with our webinar series, we do enjoy having an interactive Q&A session. So please don't be shy in inserting your questions or comments into the questions section of the control panel. For those of you that are new to Kohler Group, allow me to introduce who we are. Kohler Group is a CSC company. We've been established since 1979 and have 10 offices throughout 3 jurisdictions in Hong Kong, Singapore, and China. We assist foreign investors with their market entry and expansion within the 3 jurisdictions that we operate in. One of our unique advantages is that we do speak over 10 languages internally and are able to communicate with our clients in their mother tongue. A little bit about myself. My name is Christina Kohler-Coluccia. I'm a director of Kohler Group, and I will be the moderator for today's session. I've been with Kohler Group since 2003, when I first established our Shanghai office. I've since expanded our China operations to having 8 offices. I've been helping foreign investors with their market entry into China, their expansion within China, in some instances their liquidation and exit from the Chinese market, and lately, and more frequently, the expansion within the ASEAN region. I am one of numerous authors and contributors to our monthly magazine and our resources that can all be found online. If you are interested in subscribing to our complimentary information, all based on the newest regulations on the 3 jurisdictions, in the 3 jurisdictions that we operate in, then you can do so by simply inserting your email in the section of our homepage entitled ChinaInvest.biz Information Series. Now, without further ado, I will have Harry begin his presentation. Harry?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great, we can hear you.
Okay, that's good. So everyone knows to have this presentation to you guys to introduce something about China, particularly on the customs part. So first of all, please allow me to introduce myself and the firm a little bit. We are, in fact, a U.S. law firm, and our professional area is really focused on international trade and customs, and we already have 40 years history. I think in US we are really famous. Nonetheless, I have joined this firm 3 years before and take a role to build up the the China practice, including Greater China area, working with my fellow partners sitting in Hong Kong, taking the Asia Pacific position. And in China, we set up our consultant entity instead of a law firm, considering the conflicts and the big difference of the legal systems in China and the US. But nonetheless, we are providing service here to support clients for everything. I mean, for a full scope in relation to import and export area, considering China Customs, China CIQ, MOFCOM, etc., except for brokerage and the litigation. For me personally, I have been working with China Customs for 6 years, covering Customs Audit Division and Anti-Smuggling Bureau. And before I left, I was a section chief of the Legal Affairs Department. And after that, I joined one of the big four, taking a position of the leading manager of South China and Hong Kong for another 6 years. And then I joined the STR. Anyway, very, very good to have this opportunity to talk about China Customs here. Let's jump into the topic today. So, everybody knows that the customs management is a more operational systems, and it's a little bit complicated because it really impacts your daily operation. And normally, this kind of management is going to be leading to even every single transactions and shipments. So here we just split the major area regarding the customs management here in China, which is really a hot topics, or the major risky area that management need to keep an eye on, including license and certificate, customs classification, customs valuation, as well as the customs audit and the investigation. Okay, let's move on. Okay, here, a quick warm-up why we're talking about this kind of topic. So, China is not like US or some other really developed country. So far, still in China, well, a lot of people ask me, what is export control program in China? In fact, for China, we don't have, I can say that the so-called export control is not a real export control. China just applied some specific requirements for those dual use products or some hazardous products, as well as those natural resources products. They just keep control on this for protection purpose. More still, so far, China is more focused on the import control because China is big market, and in the meantime, China has a lot of manufacturers here. So import control so far is more important to China government. So as you can see that the license and the certificate management is always something that we need to say this is a before entry site that we have to manage. And customs classification, customs valuation, I believe you know about that because it leads to a lot of different outcomes. Customs classification is going to decide what's the duty rate, and customs valuation is going to decide what is the dutiable value. And in the meantime, as a lot of countries, China has a duty exemption management here, duty exemption program that allows company to import some specific products or material or machineries that with duty exempted. For example, for R&D, for those high tech or for those green energy industry, something like this. That's the major, we can say this is major challenges, but in the meantime also it's a major opportunities for all the companies to look at how to mitigate the risk, and in the meantime how to strengthen your saving from the import and export side. Okay, let's see next page. It's talking about the process of China Customs Management Systems. Well, see, in general, like I mentioned, the license management is a before entry. That's a before entry, and for the entry level management, Customs set up a different program. They're going to do the declaration review. They're going to assess the valuation. They are going to review the HTS codes, and they are going to decide whether the goods is subject to license or not. Something this we call as a entry level supervision. And in the meantime, China Customs will, they are implementing a very strong supervision on the post-entry level, which is saying, according to the law, China Customs has 3 years retrospective period, legal rights to do the audit, which is saying if Customs give you an audit notification today, they can track back the past 3 years, all the import and export records, everything, and they can ask the company to provide everything legally should be kept by company. For example, the finance records, the inventory, import-export documentations, and transfer pricing documentations, whatever. So far, China is trying to more digital, to digitalize or to systemize the entry-level supervision using a lot of systems to do the review, to do the checking. And in the meantime, China Customs is trying to put more and more human resources on the post-entry level to make sure that a lot of post-entry examination or audits can be imposed to improve the entire compliance management level, which is saying now the expectation from before to now is that China Customs also set up this kind of program to encourage all the companies here in China to manage by themselves, to keep a good records, and to do the regular review or regular trade internal audit. And also it's encouraging the company to do some voluntary disclosure or self-reporting to Customs in case they find out something incorrect in the records, or find out that something has been done mistakenly. And that's why China Customs also joined the AEO, scheme, the authorized economic operator. That's we call the entities grading systems, so that for every importer and exporter here in China under customs supervision, you are going to have your grade. Obviously, the best grade is AA. You are a superstar. You got very good import and export records. You got very good duty payment records. And in the meantime, you have a very perfect compliance management. And then next level is A. A is Customs VIP. You can enjoy a lot of benefits as well. For example, 24/7 service from China Customs, and in case there is any dispute, the goods is going to be released before a deposit paid, something like this. And then B grade is a regular grade, which means not bad, not good. It's at average level. For every new company set up, they're going to be in B grade, and for C and D is in blacklist. Okay, C is subject to even more than 50% inspection rate if for the import goods, and for D, some of the customs operation, import and export operation, could be suspended for like half year. So China also set up this kind of grading systems to encourage, to push the companies to do more self-management. Okay, by introducing the overall circumstance as well as the customs supervision style here in China, let's move into the detailed topic. The first one is license and certificate. See, in the overview page, if you can see, we just list down, here is eight different certificate and license needed for import and export. We also, point out what is in charge authorities like MOFCOM. Just for information, MOFCOM is Ministry of the Commerce. CIQ is China Inspection and Quarantine. So, as you can see that for license, China Customs is not going to issue the license to a company. License is going to be issued by different authorities. We just put 8 different licenses here, but in the reality, in fact, there are more than 50 different licenses here. For example, when you are going to import some agricultural products, you may need a license from the Ministry of Agriculture. And if you're going to import some foods for some medical devices, then you may need to apply for a license from the FDA. So why we put it here is we'd like to tell you that, in fact, in China, there are a lot of different licenses here. And for this kind of license, in fact, they are in charge by different authorities. And who is going to be the cross-border checker? That is China Customs. So when China Customs accept a declaration with specific products. They're going to check whether the product requires some specific license. That's China Customs work. They are on the implementation side. They're not on the license issuance side. Okay, so for a application of the license management, let's see the next page, which just lists down some application. First of all, we really need to emphasize that for most of the license, it required let's use import as an example. For most of the license, it requires the importer applied and obtained the license before import, which is saying, well, and what is import? Official import in China's law, what is official import means that when you officially submit a import declaration to China Customs, which means that's a official import. So before the goods import declaration was submitted to customs, the license should be obtained. That's the key point. So we can still remember there is a very interesting case. I cannot say this interesting, but the case is really a little bit strange. Is one of the company, they import some goods subject to the specific license, and when the shipment arrived at the port, the license was not obtained. Okay, so they got a headache because according to the law, and for the goods arrive at import entry, you have like 15 days. You need to do the declaration. Otherwise, there is a late declaration fee is going to be charged. And the importer was thinking that they don't want to pay the late declaration fee, and they just declare the goods to customs earlier, saying, okay, goods arrived. I declare the goods to China Customs for import. And when customs check in the data to say where's the license, and they told customs they didn't obtain it. Okay, even though we can explain that the license is now on the process, we are applying. It's supposed that we are going to receive the license like in 20 days. But nonetheless, we hope we can do the declaration first. No, because China is a code law systems, and in this case, the goods was determined as a non-compliance, or we can say it's a huge violation because the company import some restricted goods. I mean, when you are request, I'm sorry, when a goods request for some import license, obviously it's going to be defined as a restricted import goods. So that's a very critical case that I can tell you that all the license and most of the license and certificate, it should be obtained before actual import and export. And if you failed to do that, obviously, the outcome is going to be a penalty. The customs, for license, it's not like variation issues because license is a yes or no issues. So if you don't have the license, the outcome is going to be the goods could be returned by customs, seized by customs. In the meantime, customs is going to impose a customs penalty because according to the regulation, imported goods without license is a violation. And also, for those very special goods, if there is no license, or you can prove that you are applying for the license, or you just be determined like you mistakenly declare the goods to another HTS code just for the purpose to avoid the license requirement, that could be a smuggling as well. In China, when there was this kind of intention has been investigated and verified by customs, it's going to be a smuggling case, even criminal, because according to the law, for those smuggling case, when underpaid duty plus VAT is more than 300,000 RMB, it's a criminal smuggling. So there is a lot of different outcomes, but here also another message is that in China, when you are doing this kind of import and export management, always think about it's not like something very simple to say, okay, I know I made a mistake, I'm going to redo it, I'm going to to modify it. No, because when that happened, it already decides that there is a penalty or there is a bad record there. That's a sort of requirement. Okay, let's see. Here we got a sample for you, special import procedures. We can see the next page. It's about the second-hand equipment. So for the second-hand equipment. That's just an example. Obviously, second-hand equipment is going to be a risk area for China to manage it. Of course, they don't want to get those, unuseful or no value machines to China. So for second-hand equipment imports, in general, the process is that the company need to file the record with CIQ, because for the specific products, maybe CIQ need to do a pre inspection before the goods ship to China to confirm the equipment is useful, still have the business commercial value or something. And when CIQ have done their work, there was a application process with the MOFCOM, the Ministry of Commerce. You are going to get approval and get a paper with a sort of certificate saying that, okay, this company has been approved to import specific equipment 1, 2, 3, 4 with the detail list. And then in the meantime, CIQ is going to actually send people to do the pre-shipment inspection sometimes, or maybe in some of the ports, the CIQ is going to require that the goods come to China first, and then they can do the inspection on the entry level. And then you can do the customs declaration. And then when the goods, get a customs clearance, maybe there is still post-entry inspection to make sure the usage of the product, to make sure that the machine has been used properly. And of course, let's jump to another topic, is in this kind of import, still there is a very special thing is, what about the value? What about the value of the second-hand equipment? Because maybe from the accounting side, the equipment has been depreciated to zero. But nonetheless, in China customs side, it requires a commercial value or market level or arm's length commercial value for this kind of product. You can't declare it zero. You have to find out the value. And if you don't know the value, say the goods was imported free of charge, then you need to set up a negotiation or a communication with China customs to finally get agreement on the dutiable value. Okay, that's another thing about the customs value, just for information I mentioned here. So in general, for the license work, obviously, like I mentioned, China customs is supervising this kind of area, but the work, the actual certificate application work is not with China customs. It's with different, the authorities, FDA, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of MOFCOM, the Commerce, and even some is from the CIQ, something. So the tips for the company doing import and export here in China is always check the product and make sure whether there is a license or certificate required before taking actions. Okay, let's move to the next topic, customs classification. Well, I think this topic is not a strange area. When people doing that import and export, everybody knows that there is HTS code. We call it harmonized tariff systems. We need to find out the HTS codes for the company, for the product, so that the HTS code is going to determine whether there is FTA rate could be used, and how is the duty rate, how is the import VAT rate, how is the export VAT refund rate, and also HTS code is going to decide in China what is the import and export license. So, according to our experience in China, I have to say that we all know that the actual meaning of HTS code is for every specific product, there should be one most appropriate HTS code to be assigned to the product. That's the principle. Right? But in fact, it's because of the interpretation and the practices variance between different countries. So even for the same products, maybe different countries may have different HTS codes. That's actual cases. That's pretty common for the products, for the components, for the machines, for the electronic products, even for the foods. The same product may have different HTS codes in US, in China, Mexico, or EU something. So still, the key point is when you are doing the HTS management, we strongly recommend that for China side. In fact, in every country, it's going to have the same sense. Is for import and export side, you should manage HTS code locally. So, for example, our company have a very big platform that's HTS classification system for clients, and we can see all, for those very big clients, they're global HTS codes for every product. When you're keying a part number, you can see all the HTS codes for different countries. And of course, we are going to see differences. Like for products, normally, which countries HTS code should be different with most of the other countries. And let me tell you, the most special one, I mean, if you look at the systems, one is China. China's difference rate is talking about 30%, which is saying for the same products, maybe for all the other countries, the first 6 digits are the same. I mean, aligned. But in China, well, special. And why it happens? Because, well, of course, there is a language issues or cultural issues when translating the tariff book from English to Chinese. But in the meantime, one thing I don't want to say is when China customs look at HTS codes, sometimes they will also look at the duty rate. They intend to apply the higher duty rate to the import products because they are really revenue demanding. So when I think that's reasonable, because when there is a disputable area for the goods, looks like could be classified under this HTS code and that HTS code. From company side, we want to use a lower duty rate, but for the revenue collecting side, for customs, they hope that they can collect more. They want to classify the goods to a higher duty rate HTS codes. So that's why there are a lot of different, HTS dispute here in China. But also, outcome. I mean, the outcome of a bad management of HTS code in China. Okay, like we stated here. We always get a lot of dispute, but when you get a determination from China Customs that you got an incorrect declaration on the HTS codes, you're going to be penalized because you are supposed to declare the correct HTS codes. In fact, we already talked to GAC, the General Administration of China Customs, a lot of times during a lot of cases, and also personally, just me, I visit the legal departments in GAC for a couple of times, and I just always raising a argument saying, okay, HTS code is not something objective. It's a reassigned indicator, which is saying it's pretty it's pretty clear or obvious. The HTS code is going to have different views. I mean, different people have different views. I can understand that. If I declared an apple to be an orange, that's my fault. I deserve a penalty because it's an apple. I declare as an orange. But if I declare an orange, I say this is a very good orange, and you say this is a very bad quality orange. Come on, we don't have a criteria to say which is good, which is bad. How is good, how is bad? How can you just always impose the penalty to a HTS dispute? Well, so far, the feedback is that's the regulation. But of course, after a lot of work we've done with GAC, the GAC has announced a lot of announcement saying that with some specific area or with some specific case, even though the HTS code, the declared HTS code, need to be changed, it shouldn't be determined as a importers or exporters fault. For example, for the HTS PO, obviously disputable. So still there are a lot of different cases in the implementation, but nonetheless, as long as we have this kind of guidance, we are looking at the different cases to try to protect our clients and companies that as long as we have done all the work, then we're trying to use the reasonable care or use the disputable HTS as our argument to avoid the bad outcome to the importer and exporter. Let's move to the next page. It's about the HTS management structure here in China. See, China Customs has their HTS committee, managed by the GAC, and also they set up 4 classification center in different locations, including Shanghai, Dalian, Guangzhou, and Tianjin. And bear in mind that every single classification center, they handle different chapters of the tariff book. And in the meantime, down to the regional customs level, the tariff division of regional customs is going to be the in charge, division supervising the HTS code things. So we got a lot of cases is when we got a disputable HTS code, or we're not certain, we're not sure about HTS code. Sorry, who should I talk to? Well, let me tell you, for classification center, they don't accept the classification request from the company. They only handle the internal inquiry. So which is saying for the HTS disputes, the local customs or the regional customs can submit the inquiry to classification center, and they are going to, based on their expertise, to reply with a internal approval to say what's the HTS codes. And when there is a really, really difficult HTS code to be determined, the case may be submitted to HTS, committee in GAC level for a final discussion and conclusion. And also, China set up the pre-classification program for companies. When you have really uncertainty on the HTS codes, the company can request the regional customs tariff division to issue the pre-classification notice to let you know that, to give you a conclusion of the HTS codes, because we need HTS codes because there are different local practices. Even though I can use this HTS code in this customs, maybe when I move to another regional customs, they have different view. So if I can get a notification or can get a notice from the tariff division of certain regional customs to say that is the original confirmation of the HTS codes, obviously this HTS code is going to be accepted by all the customs in China. Because when regional customs doing this kind of classification, pre-classification notice, this pre-classification is generally or is commonly requested to be approved by specific classification center, respectively. So in fact, this kind of pre-classification notice is already a notice from the classification center level. Okay, so that's the the risk management of HTS codes. Like I mentioned a little bit, as a pre-classification program here, and also for the post-import and export classification solutions, which is saying when there is a problem with the HTS codes, say during the audit or the post-entry examination, customs find out that the HTS code is incorrect for some products, and then, in general, they are going to request for a duty clawback if there is underpaid duty. And how they are going to do that? According to the law, if there is any underpaid duty and import VAT, customs can do the clawback within 1 year from the import date, which is saying from the audit date, they can track back a year underpaid duty. But there is a condition. If the underpaid duty is caused by negligence or the incorrect operation of the importer or exporter, then the customs can claw back 3 years duty and VAT underpaid. In the meantime, they can charge a late payment fee as well as penalty. So when I point out here, you can realize that even though there is a dispute with HTS codes, one thing is very important is whether this is a disputable HTS codes, whether it's my fault that I declared a incorrect one, or essentially it's disputable. I declared one I think is correct, and I have full reasonable basis for reasonable care to say I declared properly. And even though you're going to change it, you can only try to claw back 1 year instead of 3 years plus penalty, late payment fee. So that's the key points. And also for those HTS code between different countries, just bear in mind that that's the general principle in all over the country. For import goods, importing country determine what is HTS code they require. For export goods, exporting country determine what is the HTS code for export. by the exporting country. So which is saying for all the import and exports, the actual country with import and export operation, this country's customs is going to have the final determination to say what is the HTS code. So saying when you are exporting some goods from EU to China, when you are saying, oh yeah, in Netherlands the HTS code is this, but China customs, should you accept that? Okay, legally they don't have to, because China customs can determine what is their import HTS codes, even though from export side the exporting country has determined HTS codes. And the same case happened. The same cases happened during the FTA program as well. Say like when there was goods export from Thailand to China, there was China-ASEAN FTA can be applied, right? And in the country of origin, I mean in the certificate of origin, there was HTS code provided by Thailand's authority to say what is the HTS code in China. And in China side, if on the entry level, customs believe that the HTS code is incorrect, they will directly require the importer contact exporter and ask the Thailand authority to reissue a new COO, because China's regulation requires that the COO should be fully consistent with the declaration records. So in most of the case, even though for this kind of case, Thailand government, Thailand authority, they are going to quickly just reissue a COO, because they fully adopt the principle that for importing, the import country to determine what is the HTS code for import. That's just an example for you. Okay, so again, the key points for HTS management. First of all, of course, we suggest that for the goods, it should be done to part number level to make sure that the HTS should be classified as much as possible. I mean, as good as possible. And regular review to make sure that your HTS code has been updated according to the tariff book. That's really, really advisable. And more important is, when you got a dispute, when you got a case with HTS declaration, bear in mind that always think about what happened before and figure out what is the argument. You talk to China Customs regarding the update of HTS codes, how to mitigate, how to, to reduce the risk and outcome of this kind of case. Okay, that's about the classification, the HTS codes. Let's jump to the customs variation, the next topic. Okay, in fact, in China, for the customs variation, of course, China Customs Variation Regulation is set up based on the WTO variation agreement. So in general, all the criteria or the rules and principles has been accepted by China Customs Variation Regulation. And we all know that the basic principle of the customs variation is arm's length. The transaction price should be arm's length price, should be with the market value. And now we look at China. China requires the import dutiable value as CIF value. That's a key reminder that you always declare the insurance and freight fee to customs when you are importing goods, because the dutiable value is CIF. And customs general rule is dutiable value equals to the transaction value, CIF transaction value. And what is transaction value? In fact, transaction value means that pay or payable, how much you paid or how much is payable. That's the determination. Say, when you are importing the goods, you paid 100, but you got another 20 payable, you pay later. Well, obviously, the transaction value is going to be 120 instead of 100 when you are importing. When you paid when you are importing. So it's because China Customs, captured payable as part of the assessment on the valuation. So that's trigger a lot of different voices and disputes when we look at the valuation issues to say what is the payable, whether this is the payable. Also, even when we are looking at the royalty issues, because customs believe that the royalty paid later, in fact, it should be deemed as part of the payable transaction value. So let's move to another page. Is about China customs valuation and the transfer pricing. In fact, here we already list down the different scenarios between China customs valuation versus the transfer pricing. I believe you can understand that different in charge authorities and the different purpose and different the working period. Like for transfer pricing, it's talking about the company's annual margin, but for customs valuation, in fact, it focuses on every single shipment. And for transfer pricing, the operating margin or net margin is the major consideration. But for customs valuation, the gross margin is going to be the key indicator for the assessment, because the expenditure is going to be part of the customs valuation assessment. So that's the customs valuation versus transfer pricing. Let's move to the major issue. So how is China Customs position in valuation? Here, we just let you know that, in fact, China Customs revenue contributes to more than 30% of the income of central government. China Customs applies with direct management systems. China Customs doesn't, regional customs doesn't report to local, government at all. They report to GAC directly, and the regional customs set up different port customs to do the customs operation. So in this kind of direct management, all the import duty, VAT, excess tax collected by customs is going to be contributed to central government directly, nothing to be shared with local government. So you can understand, when China Customs revenue contributes to up to 30% of the revenue, how the central government pay attention to customs, daily work. And in the meantime, it's because of this nature. That's why China Customs is always holding a very, strong position on the collection. They are really revenue demanding. I can share with you the revenue of China Customs is 1.5 trillion. 1.5 trillion in 2016, last year. In 2015 is 1.5 trillion as well. But in 2014, it's about 1.6 trillion. Okay, it's talking about 1,000 billion renminbi collections. Okay, in what circumstance customs is going to look at a valuation? Obviously, related party transactions. It's because now in China, most of MNCs set up China company, and for these MNCs, the transactions between China company and the headquarter companies are related party transactions. So when there is a related party transactions, this is going to be already a basis for China Customs to raise a question to say, okay, you are related party transactions. I'm going to look at your pricing method, your transfer pricing operation, to understand whether your price is arm's length, because they always keep a mind that there could be a possibility that the company just lower the import price to share more revenue to China. Obviously, in fact, we don't think this is going to happen, because most of the MNCs, they are going to try to increase the import price to China to keep more revenues in overseas instead of China. But it does have some case that because China get the further investment requirement, they are going to extend business in China. So one of the good way is selling products to China cheaper, so China get more profit. They can keep money in China to do the investment. Yes, of course, that's also a possible scenario. So back to the point is, when there is a related party transaction, customs is going to look at it and review it. And specific risky area, royalty. Royalty is a very, very special area, because in most of the MNC subsidiary in China, for those entities in China, they are paying royalty to get the know-how, to get design or some specific technology for China manufacturing purpose. And in the meantime, obviously, we know that this is sort of IPR, transaction. We paid, we got technology so that we can do our work in China. But nonetheless, China Customs always keep an eye to say, or to look at it, to assess whether for this kind of royalty paying to overseas, it contains some some parts that can impact import value. Say, because you paid the royalty to overseas so that you can get lower price on the import, on the import products, or whether some of the royalty in fact paid for those technology contained by import goods. For example, when I'm going to import a phone, a finished product, it had a mobile phone. If I paid 100 and in the meantime I pay another 20 to overseas to the designer to say this is a designing fee, obviously this 20 should be part of the value of the mobile phone instead of a royalty. So they are always looking at this kind of things, but according to our experience so far in China, 99% of royalty paid by local MNCs to overseas headquarters should be non-dutiable. But it's because China Customs would like to look at this. So royalty is now a very hot topic for China Customs to do their valuation assessment work. Let's move to another page. So obviously, that's the same principle with the WTO valuation agreement. For royalty or for licensing fee, when it is dutiable, two conditions must be fully fulfilled. One is related to the goods, to import goods, and the other is as a condition of sales, which is saying if you don't pay this royalty, then the seller is not going to sell you the goods. Or if you don't pay the royalty, the seller will not sell the goods to you with this price. The price could be higher. So that's the basic conditions we're going to do the assessment. And bear in mind that for royalty, if a case finally concludes that the royalty is dutiable and the company underdeclared, it's going to be a big case because royalty, when we're assessing royalty, we're applying the transaction value method to do the royalty assessment. And the transaction value method is assessing whether you have declared all the dutiable elements to China Customs. If you missed someone, you made a dishonest declaration already. It's not like the related party transaction transfer pricing. We're talking about whether the price is reasonable or not. When we're talking about the royalty, it's saying the import price you declared is correct or incorrect. So royalty case is more dangerous because when you compromise with customs, well, a lot of companies, they don't want to have trouble with customs. They just compromise to say, okay, we'll pay back the royalty and we'll pay back 3 years. So bear in mind that that is not a good way because royalty is under transaction value method. It could trigger a direct determination that you underdeclared a import value. And in the meantime, paying back three years duty, like I mentioned here, if you agree that you need to pay back 3 years, you already commit that you already admit that you got a negligence or you did something wrong. So for royalty case, again and again, I would like to give you a big caution that when you getting a royalty case, do review the file. Do not easily compromise with China Customs because of China Customs like you to compromise. They can easily close the case, but please be very careful on the royalty case. Okay. So next page is talking about a brainstorming. Here, I don't think you have a lot of time to go through it one by one. I believe you're going to have the handout after the presentation, so I can show the answer. Again, for most of the royalty, I have seen with my clients in China. Most of the royalty is talking about the IPR import. They get in the IPR for China to do the value add work in China. Instead of paying for some specific technology or know-how contained by the import goods. So 99% of the royalty should not be dutiable to China Customs. But China Customs is really happy to challenge royalty issues because that's the quickest way to increase their revenue. So again and again, be careful to the royalty, particularly when you got a royalty case with China Customs. Okay, so next page is the question mark. I think I would like to leave it here for you to think about when you are operating this kind of business in China, what kind of question you're going to raise and what is the major issues you are going to handle every day regarding the customs valuation issues. Okay, valuation is very sensitive to China Customs. It's because when the import value increased for 10%, the customs revenue increased 10% equally. So valuation is very sensitive to China Customs. Just give you an alert. be very careful to China Customs valuation work. Okay, let's move to the last topic about the customs post-entry supervision systems. In general, we call this customs audit and customs investigation. Customs audit is a governmental audit, like normal. They are going to do the audit, different kinds of audit to make sure that the company can do the work regularly and compliantly. And of course, they are setting up the third-party audit, program to authorize some of the local CPA firm to do the lobby for them in some specific case. For example, when you are applying for AEO, you can hire a local firm to do this kind of work for you. Or when customs trigger a case against the EU, they may assign a local CPA firm to do the work on behalf of customs. So that's customs audit. And customs investigation, according to the regulation and internal policy, for anything in relation to non-compliance and the penalty, the case must be handled by Anti-Smuggling Bureau. So don't be scared by the name of this authority, Anti-Smuggling Bureau. In fact, Anti-Smuggling Bureau is handling both, the criminal smuggling sides as well as the administrative violation. Just like you did something wrong, like you declared a FOB price to the customs instead of a CF price. This kind of things is not smuggling, but it's sort of violation or it's non-compliance subject to penalty. Then this kind of case is going to be handled by the Administrative Legal Affairs Department of Anti-Smuggling Bureau. And customs audit is a audit process. Anti-Smuggling Bureau is a policeman. They are doing investigation and they are authorized to impose an illegal enforcement. So when they realize some big suspect or big risk, they can seize the people. They can even they can arrest the people, seize the goods, or even lock down the factory. So when there is anti-smuggling case, be really careful. Okay, if the case just requests the company provide some information, provide some documents, request the in-charge people go to Anti-Smuggling Bureau to do an interview, set up some documents, it should be good. But if the anti-smuggling have a team, if the ASB has a team, visit the company directly, sitting there for a whole day to check in for some information, then you should be, cautioned because that could be a big case. That's the overview between customs audit and customs investigation. And now we look at what is the type of customs audit. Okay, regular audit. In general, the China Customs audit's principle is every 3 years, the company should be audited by customs. So it's a random check. Customs can pick up some company and do the regular audit to make sure you're compliant. And the special audit, maybe they receive some intelligence or some reporting saying some company is doing something not good, and they're going to do a audit specifically for some case, or from the GAC level, they issue the internal announcement to say, okay, one of the industries are really risky in this area, please look at this industry. Then obviously for the company under this industry, it's going to be the target for customs audit. Okay, and for qualification verification audit, it's for those company applying upgrade to A or AA. That's what we call AEO. If you're going to upgrade to the A or AA, a qualification audit is going to be required, and this audit is going to be conducted by China Customs or a third-party firm assigned by Customs. But we fully recommend that, before applying for AEO, the company should do a very detailed internal audit before you submit any application to China Customs. You can use no matter resources you have to do the internal audit. Make sure everything is well organized, and then you can submit application to China Customs, because that's one very interesting game rule is for these different kinds of audit, the nature of the audit case can be changed at any moment, which is saying when you're applying for a qualification audit for AEO, if you was not prepared fully, during the verification audit, they find out something wrong or incorrect, the case is going to be changed to be a special audit directly because, I'm sorry, there is something wrong. Well, which is saying you can pass the qualification, but also in the meantime, you have been changed. The case has been changed to be a special audit subject to a very bad outcome. So keep in mind that for qualification audit, we strongly recommend our clients to do the internal audit before go to customs. And again, like I mentioned, if there is any potential violation has been identified by the audit team, the audit team is going to move the case to ASB, to Anti-Smuggling Bureau, for the further assessment and handling. They can issue any penalty, they can impose any penalty to the companies. And bounded goods audit, I think this is very easy to understand for those bounded manufacturers or bounded warehouse. Okay, the best practice for customs audit. So, like I mentioned, first of all, you need to understand what is this audit. In most of the time, the client was just confused why customs visits the company. So we recommend that you should find, when you are getting this kind of case, you should first of all try to find out what kind of audit is. What's the purpose of the audit? Is it a regular audit, or is it a special audit for your industry, or you have been reported by somebody or some company and which triggered this audit or something else. So find out what audit it is, and then we need to prepare. And one of the key, key approach to better manage the customs audit is during the audit process, please using a single contact window approach, which is saying when the company is going to provide some documents or talk to China Customs regarding the case during the entire process, we suggest there is some specific people or third party assigned by the management to do the work. Because according to our experience, most terrible thing is when customs is hearing different voices with different opinion and facts from different people of this company, the case must be upgraded to a worse level. Because, well, if there was no internal alignments, obviously there could be a bigger problem. So single contact window, first of all, find out the nature of the audit, single contact window, fully preparation, and third-party involvement, the third-party supporting involvement, and try to resolve the case within audit instead of moving out to Anti-Smuggling Bureau. That's the major thoughts or suggestion that we're going to use for any customs audit case. But nonetheless, for the anti-smuggling case, of course, we can use the same process, but the Anti-Smuggling Bureau is going to be a little bit more difficult to handle. And just give you a tips, no matter and whenever, if you got a audit investigation or some other customs conclusion or some customs inquiry, customs determination to say you did something wrong, in whatever case, if you think this is a unreasonable or unfair conclusion, if you think it's not acceptable to you, there is always a way that you can raise an administrative appeal to fight against local customs, fight against regional customs. And so far, the successful rate for the administrative appeal is pretty high, because China Customs is now also enhancing their legal systems to make sure that the entire circus is being more fair. Okay, I think that's my whole presentation. So we can move to the next page of the summary. What could we do? And what should we do? And in general, what's the key points that we're going to do to manage it? We need to show the whole message. That means the whole page. Yes. Okay, that's a quick summary about today's presentation, and I hope that you really get some something inspiration from my side, and I hope we do help you to understand more about China Customs, and really wish you a very good luck operation in China with a good business, with a good future. Thank you so much.
Harry, thank you very much for presenting to us today. It sounds like you have a really terrible cold, so we appreciate you joining us today for the presentation. I have a few questions that I've noted down from some of the attendees that you haven't touched on, but I think it's questions that have come up quite frequently when I've been discussing customs issues with clients. The first is in relation to importing high-tech equipment. So particularly for companies that are manufacturing in China, one is bringing in investment through cash, through dollars, or bringing in the investment through equipment. What is your recommendation to companies when they are building up their manufacturing facility, would you recommend that they bring in tangible assets? The reason why this question has come up is because the attendee has had the experience of the Customs Bureau requesting a multitude of documents such as blueprints associated with the equipment, and it's made the company feel very unsettled and very uncomfortable about releasing all of this data and all of this information. What would you recommend?
For this kind of operation, for this kind of investment in China, I cannot say this is a recommendation, but in fact, according to our experience, by importing some really high-tech equipment is highly encouraged by the government. And also, for this kind of equipment, there is a big saving if you don't need to pay the custom duty and import VAT. So if we do have this kind of resources, obviously we can go through the process to apply for a duty-free import. I think I can understand the case that the attendee mentioned. The customs request for a lot of confidential information about equipment, even including some really confidential R&D equipment. There is a way to handle that because let me tell you what is this purpose. It's because for duty-free quota and approval is going to be issued by the MOFCOM, by the Ministry of Commerce. They manage the entire capital market. They manage the investment in China. So they can issue this kind of approval to allow you to import some equipment with high technology. And the customs work is going to check that whether the equipment, when you are importing, whether the actual equipment is equal to the approval. I mean, it's equal to the equipment you request for approval, which is saying, when you are applying for import equipment A, they want to confirm whether this is equipment A. So there is a way to provide this kind of information to customs is just to make sure that you can justify the equipment import is exactly the equipment that you apply to MOFCOM. In fact, for those confidential information, it's not a legal requirement, or customs has no legal authority to request a company to provide. We can find a way to talk to customs. As long as we can settle down, we can convince them that the equipment is exactly the equipment we're going to import. The case can be done. So that's the other key information is, in some of the case, don't think about that the authorities, the customs request is must be fulfilled. Sometimes you need to learn how to say no and provide the current available information that you're comfortable to facilitate your import process. You don't have to do everything requested by China Customs. That's the only tips I can give you. But of course, for this kind of case, we would like to assess it case by case if you're interested. But nonetheless, that I hope I already clarified a part of this kind of practice.
And Harry, another question, because the previous webinar sessions have been related to transfer pricing and tax, and one of the key messages given on that side has been, try to have open communication with the tax bureaus, try to be transparent. What is your advice to companies in China in terms of, you've said that communication is important by having a one point of contact. How transparent should you be with the customs bureaus? Should you be open to them? And leading on to that question, you had mentioned in regards to the HS code, which is, it seems that for many attendees, the HS code is a big question mark in terms of how to define what an HS code is for a specific product. You had mentioned during your presentation that you can get a pre-approval from the customs authorities, a letter issued by them to state, what is the HS code for a specific product. So in relation to communication with the Customs Bureau and transparency and getting these pre-approvals, how hard or difficult is it to maneuver yourself around the customs bureaus or the customs officers?
Okay, So there are two questions. Let me try to answer it. First of all, when we are talking about the transfer pricing, I mean from the tax sides, tax bureau is assessing the company's overall profit, which is saying it will be good if you can be transparent to show them that okay, we made enough profit in China. We're going to share you with the our global transfer pricing, our global profit, allocation, something like this. Of course, it's good. But in China side, in customs side, for the pricing issues, our recommendation is be fully transparent based on all the information, owned by China company. We never recommend or encourage our client to disclose any overseas company to China customs because, bear in mind, tax is on an annual basis to review the profit, but customs is on transaction basis to review the value, the import value. So if you declare too much about overseas financial data, it's going to lead to a very difficult scenario is that in future, for a lot of shipments, customs can request you to, you declare, you provide some information in the overseas level. Please give us again. We're going to assess this transaction. That's going to impose a lot of difficulty to our daily operation. And in fact, legally, China Customs has no legal authorization to request for the overseas companies information. They can request for whatever information, documentations owned by China company, but not for overseas company. So we don't encourage a client to provide overseas company. And one the other reason is China Customs valuation is on gross margin basis, which is saying the expenses is going to be part of the assessment. It's not like tax. Tax look at the taxable value. I mean the taxable profit, the net margin, the operating margin. But the customs is not. Customs look at the overall gross margin. They are going to assess expenses, going to assess those non-trade payments to make sure that for these kind of things, they hope that this kind of things could be added into import price instead of spending in China by cash. So that's one of the other reasons that we don't encourage you to disclose too much, because in most of the case, we are assessing the local data. We are providing the local transfer pricing documentations, but we didn't provide the global transfer pricing information to customs. And by the way of mentioning this, just to let you know, China Customs, they don't work with tax bureau together. Okay, you don't have to worry about that. The authorities is going to share the information between different authorities, particularly for customs and tax bureau. No, it's because they are doing something in totally different way. Tax bureau hope that the import price could be as low as possible, but customs would like you have an import price as high as possible. So they don't work together, and they will not work together as well. That's my personal point, personal view. And if we're talking about the HTS codes, well, for HTS codes, we encourage the client to provide the product information as detailed as possible so that we can get the most appropriate HTS code. And one of the key points is, in case there is a dispute or there is a risk regarding the HTS determination, no matter how pre-classification we have done, no matter how work we have done, still, nonetheless, according to the law, customs can just withdraw previous comments or declaration records to say we want to change the HTS codes. So the major defense is, well, I'm sorry to say that China Customs is the owning authority who is authorized to determine HTS codes. So of course we hope we can defend our HTS codes, but in really extremely difficult case, if we cannot defend, even though we are going to compromise to change the HTS codes, the key point is we are going to change the HTS codes because of disputable HTS classification instead of incorrect declaration by importer. That's the key defense area that we are struggling for every day. Did I answer the question?
Yes, thank you, Harry. And then the last question, because we're running out of time. The last question is that we did a webinar session last week in relation to the pilot free trade zones and the advantages that the customs bureaus are offering to companies when importing products inside. Could you possibly give a little bit of your experience on whether these advantages in these pilot free trade zones or even in the bonded logistics parks, what is your overall advice you would give clients? Do you push clients who are trading big volumes to go into these areas? Does the customs really offer that big of an advantage?
Okay, for pilot free trade zone, in fact, it's now not a pilot free trade zone. It's a real free trade zone already, because China already set up a lot of different free trade zones in different locations. I think I would like to put it as a very simple way to answer this question. Think about Hong Kong. If you have any idea about Hong Kong, think about Hong Kong. For China, when the government set up free trade zone, in fact, they are setting up a lot of places like Hong Kong in different locations in mainland China, so that these free trade zones can support a company when a company has a needs to use a place like Hong Kong. For example, for free trade zone, of course, when company registered in free trade zone, you are still a Chinese registered company, but it doesn't matter. For those foreign exchange control program, for those tax and some other finance program in free trade zone, it's pretty open and free and upgraded to be as close as possible to Hong Kong. And from the customs side, free trade zone is deemed as out of China customs territory, which is saying when you ship the goods from the mainland China to a free trade zone, customs will deem it as the goods has been exported to China. And then when you are importing the goods from free trade zone to mainland China, which is saying you need to pay the general import duty rate and the VAT. So for this kind of operation, it really depends on what kind of needs the clients, the companies want. For example, if you get a lot of manufacturing here in China, but still you want to keep do a lot of transfer pricing to keep the profit in overseas mother company. A lot of companies, what they're doing is that they export the goods from mainland China to free trade zone. And when goods move to free trade zone, the goods title, the ownership of the goods is allowed to be moved to any overseas company. So the manufacturer export the goods to free trade zone, and the title moved to the overseas headquarters. And in the meantime, the headquarters can do a markup. They do a value add. I mean, not an actual value add, just a markup, increase the price. So we finish the manufacturing in China, say total value is 10, and move to its free trade zone over to the overseas company. The overseas company can easily add a price to be 20 or 30, and then we import to China. In this kind of scenario, the profit has been, received by the overseas company, and in China market, you keep that what you need, like the import price to China should be 30. This could be the pricing strategy or whatever things, so that in free trade zone for this kind of operation, when we are going to encourage the client to use the free trade zone is when the client has this kind of transfer pricing needs and have this kind of free trade zone needs, like moving goods to free trade zone and re-import to China and something like this. And same as the BLP, bonded logistic park. Free trade zone contains the BLP's function as well. So there are a lot of different free trade zones in different locations. Maybe they have different functions because the local government is eligible to set up the functions for their own free trade zone on their location. So we just need to find out what's your needs and which is the closest appropriate free trade zone that can support your needs. We can set up the study to see whether you are going to use this free trade zone.
Harry, thank you very much for all your answers, and thank you very much for taking the time today to present. To all the attendees, if you do have further questions to ask Harry or you want further clarifications, his contact details are in the presentation, and the presentation will be forwarded to you today at the end of today's session. If you would like me to make an introduction to Harry, then by all means just contact me and I will send out an email introduction. A little bit of administrative stuff. We have another 4 webinars left in this webinar series. If you enjoyed the last webinar sessions, then please do register for the up-and-coming last 4. And last but not least, if you are interested in subscribing to our various resources, then it can be done so free of charge, complimentary on our homepage. I would like to thank everybody for joining us today. And again, Harry, thank you for presenting to us today, particularly when you're not so well. We really appreciate you attending and giving us insight into the Customs Bureau. So thank you, and I wish everyone a very pleasant evening. Goodbye.